Let's start off by defining a new reference table. So we press on New Table, type in the text, and we add a field. We notice on the right we've got the field attributes such as field name, description, type, length, and so on. So we start typing. The first name will be the country code. And now we add another field, the country name. And that's really all we have to do. We just press Save Design, and we can start adding records to the table. We go back. We have a bunch of options that we can choose from. We'll start with Open Table, and we'll press on the New button to add a record. We've got our first two fields, the country code and country name. Press Save, and we've got our first record. And we press New again to add the second record, and afterwards we'll add a whole bunch of records. So whenever creating a list of records, we can always have a search on one of the fields or a free text search, and we can sort the columns or move them. We can go in and edit a record or go in and delete a record. And now we'll quickly create another table called the Destinations table, and we'll have three fields. First will be the city code, and followed by the city name, and the third field will be the country code. Now this country code is the same country code that we used to describe the table before, so we can see that this field already exists in the repository. And what we want to do here is bind it to that table. So down here where it says reference table, we will choose countries. So we're binding it to the countries table. So after saving, if we look at this field, it's really a lookup on the countries table. So now if we go into the table, open, and start adding a record, for example, the first city code will be PAR for Paris, followed by the city name, and we'll choose the country code, France. We save it, add a whole bunch of records, and that's basically how we, in a few minutes, created two tables that are connected to each other. We can also group the records as well. And now we'll take a third table that we've already created called campaigns, go into the design, and we want to make the first field mandatory, so this is how we would do it, by choosing mandatory. And now we want to add validation rules. Let's try this first field and say that this field, its value must be less than 50. So then we go to this validation rule text box that we write, this field must be less than 50, or less than 50 in this way. And we will also add the error message that will appear if the field will be less than 50, not less than 50. So we save the design, and let's take a look at how that would work. Go into a record. If we press save right away, he says the campaign ID is mandatory. So now let's fill in the rest of the fields. And notice on discount, if we put in something that was greater than 50, it would say it has to be less than 50, so we correct it, and it's okay. So let's go back to the design and take a look at some more validation rules. For example, between these two dates, we want to say that the to date has to be greater than the from date. So this is exactly what we would type down here. Or we can write in such a way. And of course our error message. And now, for example, if we wanted to say that the total cost, we wanted to make sure that it was equal to the airfare times the discount divided by 100. So we could also write in such a way. And that would be the validation check that we would see, that he's checking that the total cost is correct. So let's go back and take a look at how that would look. So again, if we take a from date that would be greater than the to date, we get our message. So let's correct that by taking a date later on. And if we change the airfare, we notice that the total cost is not what it should have been. Now it's okay. On the other hand, we could have done something different. We could have said that the total cost is actually derived from the airfare and the discount. So let's see how we would do that. So we go back, we just copy the validation rule and place it in the field called derivation rule, because this field is going to be derived. And because it's derived, it's also protected and it has that value. So that if we would change the airfare, we'd get a different value, it's calculated, or change the discount, we'd get a different value because it's calculated. And that's how derivation rules work.